So, good morning, Matt. Monday morning again. How was your weekend?
Yeah, good weekend, mate. Jam packed with football and gymnastics this weekend. So you know how it rolls. You? Much the same?
uh, Paddle, a bit of paddle Saturday morning for a little hit and some breakfast, and then all day Sunday football in 30 odd degree heat. I'm red today, sunburnt.
Mate, I had my first game of paddle tennis in I would say 30 years. I mean, we used to play it at university when it wasn't even called paddle tennis. But I went out and had a hit with some friends of mine on Friday. A great game. Loved it.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. Just gets you moving. No, I enjoyed it. So we do that every week now, and we took the boys this week. That was we took the kids down for them to try it, and they enjoyed it as well. So yeah, no, it's good. Good little run around.
It's funny, while I was there, I was talking to, they asked, obviously you're playing just in a sort of round robin sort of setup. And I was talking to a couple of people there, what do you do? And I told them, and they were fascinated by SportsFX. And they were talking about go and talk to the pickleball guys.
Yeah.
Go and speak to them. They need some support. They're a fledgling business. It's global.
Mm.
So it's, you just go down there to have a hit, but you end up getting into the conversation around SportsFX and what it actually is.
Yeah, well, while I was there, we had the same. We got the paddle courts up here on the Gold Coast. There's a couple of paddle courts, a heap of tennis courts, and some pickleball courts. And
Yeah,
we go on a Tuesday normally, and it's quiet. There's 20,
yeah,
30 people there. Saturday morning, packed, hundreds of people. And you've got all these young tennis whizzes, you know what I mean? Like you can just tell that they're good. They're going to be in that next group of people that will need education around if they're going to join the APT tour
right.
or just go and play overseas, whether it be tennis or, as you say, pickleball now and paddle. They're
Paddle,
global associations and they're coming up everywhere. So no doubt they've got exposure to foreign exchange in some way. So I'm the same. We'll start wearing my SportsFX t-shirt down there on a Tuesday and start having some conversations. Have some business cards in the back pocket.
Oh, mate, geez, we're old school, mate. If we're going back to the business cards, but you're spot on. It's funny how you just get just a general conversation because quite often, if you sit there and say you're a banker, the conversation pretty much ends. And apologies to all
Yeah.
those bankers out there, but um, just the fascination of what SportsFX is. It blew me away on Friday when you, as I say, just going there from a social perspective
Yeah.
with no thought of talking business in a pure sense.
Yeah.
But then it took over the conversation while we're sitting around at the end of it having a coffee.
Yeah, no. Very interesting. And look, it was a quick segue into what's happening in the markets because it's been interesting as well. We've seen
Yeah,
the US dollar's had a rally. I think it's been 4 or 5 consecutive weeks now of moving up. And as we looked at, and we'll bring the charts up shortly. Ever since we hit that 69 cent mark for the Aussie US, it's just collapsed and continues to collapse. We're down at 66 cents as of Friday and as of this morning.
yeah,
Now, what that means for obviously Aussies sending money out of Australia, not great, but in through the SportsFX side, obviously we deal with a lot of Aussies who are overseas. So plenty of WhatsApp messages and conversations over the weekend on taking advantage of this. More so because of the conflict in Iran and Israel, and that's ongoing, and that just creates volatility. But secondly, is that nearly a week from now, 7 8 days from now, the US election,
yeah.
5th of November, very key when these things happen. It seems like that the US has had some good, strong data, but also the reports coming out that Trump's starting to gain a bit of control and a bit of traction, and that he might be the favorite. And I think that's sort of just swelling that support for the US dollar at the moment. That's what it seems to be from what I'm reading. So anything around election day, I'd be staying away from personally. Taking risk off the table and getting things done a bit quicker. One particular conversation we had over the weekend was a player. He's playing overseas. He's got just over $1 million to move back, and we had a quick look. So from October the 1st to now, it's moved 7 cents in his favour, and on $1 million, that adds up to over 70,000 Australian dollars difference in the last couple of weeks. So as I always say, it's taking advantage of multi-week or multi-month highs. Is never a bad thing. Rates are always going to go higher. They're always going to go lower. It's just the nature of the industry. You'll never catch the top, but if you can take advantage of these movements and put the money away, especially before a big event like that US election, is probably not a bad idea.
No, totally agree. Totally agree. And the markets, I mean, across the board at the moment, we're talking US at the moment, but obviously with what's happening in Japan at the moment as well. You know, the
Well, I
elections
think
and so forth.
they've got theirs. So today might be today. So they've got their lower chamber election is happening. Then the Bank of Japan meet on October 31st, which I think is Thursday.
Thursday, yeah.
No, I don't think there's any expectations that they're going to change their policy at the moment. But and we always find this is it's the commentary around it, whether they make a change or they don't. It's the wording and the key words that the market picks up on in regards to future movements, and that's when you generally see spikes. So we've seen that Aussie yen still sitting at that 100 level. It's gone up to sort of 101 this morning, so it's opened a little bit stronger today. But yeah, that's another key field for us, with obviously a lot of footballers and rugby players over in Japan. That it's unfortunately it's not in their favour as yet. But this week will be a key week. There'll be a lot of movement. We've got a few limit orders in place at the moment anyway to take advantage of that.
Well, I think that's the key to it, mate. As we said, and you alluded to the fact that a number of emails were sent or text messages sent over the weekend to a number of our athletes about where the market's at, be it in the US and others. I don't know too many shops out there that are contacting their clients on Saturdays and Sundays, mate, to just to give them an update of where things are at. So I think that's our benefit.
Yeah, it was in between. I was doing it in between watching James Bond on the weekend. We sat down for a bit of chill time after paddle and breakfast. Watch a bit of James Bond, send some emails, and that was Saturday. Because the other one's the pound. Sent out a heap of emails around the pound, so that's jumped back over 196 again. So outside that sort of period in July, August, where we've seen a few spikes up to 197. This is August to September 2023 was the last time we were up at these figures. So again, those expats holding pounds or earning pounds, again taking advantage of that type of high. And again, the momentum, it went from 191 at the start of October to 196. So you're 5 cents up in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And again, if you're moving large sums of money, that can be a huge difference in Aussie on this side.
Yep.
And there's also, I think their next interest rate decision is on November 7th, so about 10 days away. They're expecting a rate cut. I think they've got down a potential 65% chance. The markets are sort of pricing in a rate cut and then maybe another one in December over there. That's the concern. If they start cutting rates across in the UK, that's where you might see the pound sell off. That's generally what happens, not always, but it's very strong at the moment. So again, just removing yourself from the volatility of the markets, it's getting stuff done before these big events. We find is the most sensible thing to do. Most people I find are risk adverse. The odd one likes to roll the dice, but when you're dealing with your own money, I think it's better to get it home, get it in your account, put it against your mortgage, whatever it is you decide to do with it, invest it. Just don't leave yourself exposed to huge global events that no one can control what's going to happen.
No, exactly right. But that's the benefit of the constant line of communication, or the open lines of communication with the client base.
Yeah, no, it is. So that's been the main ones. That actually the euro is the other one which has had a bit of a resurgence in the last few weeks. Not as much, but it's touched back around that 163 level. Which again is the highest since September, so it's at a 1 month high with euro. And Canadian dollar is a funny one. So the Aussie Canadian hasn't really taken off. It's sort of sold off a little bit over the past few weeks, but the US to Canadian dollar has had a huge run up. So if you're in the US, you're a Canadian in the US looking to send money back to Canada, it's a very positive time. So Bank of Canada's cut its rates again last week, and it's 125 basis points they've cut since June, and another 50 points expected in December. So they're cutting rates very heavily over there, and you're up around that sort of 140 level holding US back into Canadian dollars. So as we say, it's not always just the Aussies. We look after a number of Aussies, but we have a number of other clients in different regions, and there's so many currency pairs and like that. While one's going up, it's good for some people, bad for others, but there's always someone on the other side of it. So it's just, as you say, staying educated, staying aware of what's going on, announcements that are coming up, and how that can affect you, and removing yourself from risk.
No, totally. That's exactly right.
So excellent, mate. Well, we'll get cracking for the day. We have a huge list of events and ideas that we've been running through off camera. All very exciting for SportsFX moving forward, and we'll share some of them in the coming weeks on how we're going.
100%. I think one day we'll start the recording early and let people into the inside of the amount of ideas and thought processes we go before we jump on.
We'll see if that gains subscribers or loses them.
Yeah, well, it's one or the other, mate.
Fantastic. Well, have a great week. Have a great week, everyone. And as per normal, if you have money sitting in Australia that needs to go overseas or vice versa, reach out to Matt or I, and we'll be glad to give you a bit of guidance on what's upcoming, where rates are at, where they could potentially, bounce between, and as we say, take the risk off the table with these upcoming announcements.
Brilliant. Have a great day, mate.
You too.